Hello students, I hope you all are doing well and you have gone through the previous video series that we have uploaded on YouTube. In that video series, we have covered the topics like deductive logic, argument, premise, and critical reasoning, basics of critical reasoning, and how to solve the questions. So if you have any doubts about all these concepts, make sure you are visiting those videos before you start with Parajumbles. Now let us get started with this topic, Parajumbles. Let us read the definition line by line, understand it, and then move ahead with its logic. Now let us read the definition of Parajumbles before we move ahead with its logic. Parajumbles refer to a type of question where a paragraph is presented with its sentences scrambled. Now let's say there is one paragraph made of total 5 sentences. Okay, 5 sentences. So in the options, they will give us these sentences in a jumbled format, which means the fifth one will be given first, then they will give you maybe third, then fourth, then first, then second, and you have to identify the sequence of this, that which one should come here, which should go here, which should go here, which should go here, which should go here. So we have to find out the sequence of these jumbled sentences. Okay, your task is to rearrange these sentences into logical sequence so that they form coherent and meaningful paragraph, right? So if the sentences are given in jumbled format, there are higher chances that a reader won't be able to understand what is the main idea of this paragraph or what is the message that author wants to convey through this paragraph. However, if we rearrange them in a logical and coherent format, automatically the person reading it will be able to understand it thoroughly, completely, right? So that's what our task is in jumbled paragraphs. Despite the name, the focus is not on jumbling entire paragraphs. Don't get confused by the name. You don't actually have to jumble the paragraphs. In fact, you have to do exactly opposite. You have to arrange the sentences in such a way that that jumbled paragraph will become coherent and meaningful, right? This kind of question is frequently found in various competitive exams. Now here we are talking about CAT specially, and in CAT you will get so many questions based on Parajumbles. At least from the previous test papers, we can certainly reach to this conclusion, safe conclusion, that you will get a lot of RCs, a lot of Parajumbles. So be prepared for that, because this has become increasingly common in recent years, right? Mastering the approach to these questions can significantly boost your performance in such exams. Isn't it obvious? Because the highest amount of questions that you get are from RCs, reading comprehension, and Parajumbles. So if you are improving your skills of solving Parajumbles, automatically you will give a good boost to your own scores. So now let us understand it in deeper level, and let us understand the logic and examples and everything related to Parajumbles. Now let us understand how we are supposed to identify that which sentence should come first, which sentence should come second. So to understand this and to understand the logic behind this, we have this concept of concomitant sentences. Now concomitant sentences are sentences which are obviously and logically related to each other. When we identify such sentences, it becomes easier for us to identify which sentence will come first and which will come next to it because of their relation. So let us read the definition and understand it in detail. In Parajumbles, concomitant sentences are sentences that occur together because they are related in meaning or context. So these sentences are obviously going to go together because of the meaning or the context, the relation that they share. They usually provide complementary information or describe aspects of the same situation. Recognizing these sentences can help you effectively order the sentences to form a coherent paragraph. We will understand this with the help of an example also, but before that, let us understand what kind of relations do these sentences share, or how to identify that these two sentences are related to each other. Okay, these are some common types of concomitant sentences which you might encounter in Parajumbles. So let us go through the types. Sentences that share this relation of cause and effect, right? So let's take examples also now to understand. The company faced severe financial losses this year. As a result, it had to lay off several employees. Financial losses and several employees are related. There is a correlation, and because one thing happened, second thing happened. So this is a cause and effect relation. The cause has an effect on the second sentence. What is the cause here? The cause is financial losses of the company, which ultimately led to layoffs, right? Next is sequential sentences. Sequential sentences are the sentences which obviously should come first and second in the order. There is logical sequencing there, right? Let us go through one example for the same. The CEO announced a new policy in the morning. Later in the day, employees attended a meeting to discuss its implications. Now the CEO has announced new policy. When we are saying new policy, that this new policy is certainly going to be the first statement, isn't it? And later in the day, which means we are automatically talking about something which is coming later in the day, which means in the first half of the day might be this discussion must have happened where he announced new policies, right? And to discuss its implications. This sentence in itself gives us a clear-cut hint that I am incomplete without a sentence before. And this sentence certainly suits it because we are talking about new policy. And when we say a meeting to discuss its implications, of course, we are weighing pros and cons before deciding whether we should implement it or not, right? So this is the logical sequence. These are automatically sequential sentences. So if you see something like this, you will certainly understand that which one should come first and which one should come second. Next is complementary sentences. What do you mean by complementary sentences now? Let us understand it with help of an example again. Main point and the detail, very important. Even while you are writing, many a times we write a generic statement and then add one more detail to explain it, right? So this is what we call complementary sentences. The new software update improved system performance. Detail, it reduced loading times and increased processing speed, right? So we are updating something or we are adding something new in our system and it has resulted in something good. This is the relation here, right? We improved something which resulted in something good, right? So this is the main point and this is the detail that we are adding about that main point. So this will again go together. Contrast sentences. Contrast you all know. The summer sale attracted many customers. In contrast, the winter sale had lower turnout. Now we are talking about summer sale that attracted many customers and something contradictory to it happened in the winter sale. It had lower turnout, right? So these are contrasting sentences. Again, because of the contrast, they are together. Let us understand this even further. Explanation and illustration sentences. Explanation. The company's new policy aims at something. So we are explaining this in the first sentence. Illustration. For instance, what we are doing here in the previous sentence, we have seen a few not exact previous sentences, but two sentences before we have seen one example where we are adding detail. Here what we are adding, we are justifying this explanation with the help of an example here. Okay, so this is how these two sentences are related. The company's new policy aims at this, and for instance, it introduces flexible working hours and remote work opportunities, right? Now, let us understand how we are supposed to identify such sentences. First of all, we have to identify the relationship between the sentences, whether they are contradictory, whether they are adding one example, whether they are adding a detail, if it is a sequential sentence, right? So once we identify this relationship, it becomes easier for us to understand how these sentences are connected, right? Also look for transition. Concomitant sentences often use transitional words or phrases like therefore, as a result, meanwhile, for example. So when you see such hints, this gives it out in a very obvious way, right? That something before that happened, and that is the reason we are using transition, connecting words. Otherwise, why will you use connecting words? Isn't it? We are joining two sentences here. We are talking about effect of something. We are talking about something contradictory maybe. That is the reason these words are there. This is how these words are used, right? Next is sequence logical flow. Place sentences in an order that reflects cause and effect, sequence of the events, or complementary information. So we have already discussed about all three types here. If you see there is some sequence logic to it, even then you can identify what is the connection between two sentences and which sentence should come first and which sentence should follow it, right? So this is how you are supposed to identify relation between those two sentences and take a call that which sentence should come first and which should come second. Now let us apply the knowledge we have just gathered in one of the examples. Let us read the question first, right? The question remains the same, guys. These are the three sentences that are given, which we have to rearrange in correct order, right? Let us read the sentences first. The event was attended by numerous prominent personalities from the industry. So which event are we talking about? What this event is aiming at? We don't know anything. So it raises a question mark. We don't know. This seems like a sentence fragment because we haven't read the other sentences. So let us read the other sentences first. The conference aimed to explore new technological advancements. So here we are talking about the conference which is aimed to explore new technological advancement. So we are talking about the purpose here. This can be one of our first sentences. We cannot finalize unless we read all the sentences given. So this is the third sentence. The discussions were focused on cutting edge innovations and future trends. The discussions. Now the conference, the discussions were focused on. Here also we are talking about what was the focus on. We are not deviating from the topic. There is some relation between the second and third of context. This is still on the same context, right? Focus on cutting edge innovations and future trends. So don't you feel that B and C are connected? B of course will be the starting point and C will be the next thing adding to it. Then A remains the third now, right? Automatically. So what should be the correct answer? B, C and A. B, C and A. Now let us, and this is the correct answer. Why this is the correct answer? Let us read the reasons for that. Because B sets the context for the conference. We know what is the context. There is a conference. In that conference, people are meeting to talk about technological advancement. So this gives context in those three sentences. C provides detail on the content of the discussion at the conference, right? So first generic statement, then detail. At the end, complements this by noting the attendance of the industry personalities, enhancing the context. So here in first sentence we are saying event was attended by so many personalities. So this is adding to the context further by sharing that how big that conference was, right? But this will certainly come at the end, right? So this is how we are supposed to identify relation between two sentences, and we should sequence them basically. So with the help of this knowledge, we are going to solve a few examples for Parajumble question type. in the next video. So stay tuned. If you have liked this video, if you have understood and are ready to solve questions with us on Para Jumbles, please like and subscribe this video, and see you in the next video.